I'm back. It's been a minute since I last made another video like this, as the last video I made was a couple of months back, and I've been focusing on a few other things here on this channel, which is obviously, if you've seen the VIGOR media series. But I've still been getting comments on the original video, the stick drift video with the PS4 controller. Hey, is there ever going to be a Dualsense edition? Where's the Dualsense edition? You know, etc, etc. So I decided to finally free up some time, and I present to you another way to fix stick drift. Now, before we begin, we should probably diagnose the problems I've had with this PS5 controller. Obviously, the main factor, stick drift. Both of these sticks do drift from certain dead zones. From minimum dead zone, I would say it's around like 0.06 to 7, around there. Obviously, or also this, which is kind of a bad thing. This is not the stick itself, but it's just a thumbstick grip. The adhesive underneath seems to have worn out from repeated use. I've seen this kind of happen with other controllers, but it's kind of a first for me. I've never really had this happen to me. I've only seen it happen to some of my friends or people on the internet. But yeah, there's also this, which is the material on the circle button or inside seems to have been crushed, which I've never really seen before from another controller, from another PS5 controller. Which is kind of crazy, and it's kind of a little bit more mushy than all the other buttons. Like, you can kind of hear it. Like that's the square button, which is kind of more tactile and has a little bit more click. This is kind of just mushy, just doesn't have that sound. And as you can see, there's already oil set into the paint or the plastic mesh, which is kind of bad when you're playing. Kind of adds a little bit more sweat, or like your hands tend to sweat more when you're trying to grip the controller. From what I've noticed from PS4 controllers, PS5, Switch Pro, etc, etc. Other than that, that's kind of the main issues with this controller right now. So yeah, let's get into the disassembly. Now, before we do begin any of the procedures that we're going to be doing in this video, you'll obviously need the proper tools, so I'll leave those on screen right now. There are some extra things that you can use. I'll leave those in the description, but they aren't mandatory. Well, now that we got that out of the way, first step is taking apart the controller. Now, you may have noticed there aren't any screws on the back of the Dualsense controller like there are on the DualShock 4. That's because they're hidden. 2 are on the L1 and R1 bumpers, and 2 are underneath the controller handling shell. And these are the 2 screws underneath and on top. Just get all 4 of these unscrewed. Now that you've got all the screws undone, we're going to be taking off the clips. Now, this part is not at all similar like the DualShock 4. In fact, it's a little bit more harder, but it's definitely better. Now, if you've watched my previous video, I originally said to turn the controller over to the back side and pull the front shell out from the side clips. But for the Dualsense, it's actually the complete opposite. Sony decided to take off the front hole from the front clips and put it from the back side only. First, we'll be undoing the bottom clips. For the side clips, put a little bit more force since these are harder than the DualShock 4. And there you go. Then take apart the controller. Then remove the battery connector. Remove the battery. Unscrew the battery chassis. Before you remove the battery chassis, undo this ribbon cable on the bottom here. Now if this part ever comes undone, just take off the battery chassis and put it in the slot right here. Like that. Next, take off these 3 ribbon cables. Begin to desolder the adaptive trigger and vibration wires. Next, remove the touchpad ribbon cable. And finally, remove the PCB. Now to get to the front face buttons, take off these 2 screws on the side. Then remove the film chassis. And as always, you can do your cleaning or custom buttons here. Now that you've got the PCB all centered out, you can see how the stick spins. Next, remove the thumbsticks. Now if you've watched my previous video, I've actually made a clear explanation on why these ALP sticks. These are not good for competitive gaming, especially at higher learning curves where you can't lose a single gunfight. Not only that, but they tend to have lower lifespans as compared to favorite Union sticks, which are these. Always a treat to see these. They're orange and steel black design. These, however, are different than the DualShock 4 controllers since these are lower ohms. Now enough stalling, onto the soldering and desoldering the sticks. Now as always, this will be an extended section to understand every little detail that I do. So, let's begin. Ready? Alright, into the extended section. Once again, we got our Dualsense PCB right here, as you guys can see. Right here. And right there. So, we're obviously going to be taking these 2 sticks apart and replacing them. Obviously these are green sticks, ALP sticks. As I stated, not good, right? Even in the previous video, but just alone is just, you know, inconsistent. It's not good for competitive gaming, but anyway, let's get right into it, right? Obviously these are the stuff you'll really need. Film extractor, well, that's kind of optional, but it's best to just have this, you know. It's always best to, like, you know, safety always comes first. You don't want to be breathing this soldering smoke in. It's just not good for you. It's like smoking times 5 or whatever, but it's just bad. It's bad chemicals going into your system, so you want something to absorb this. And I have my air purifier in the back, but that's on auto right now. If it starts to get bad, like room temperature, then it'll just automatically turn on. So if you guys hear some fan or something in the background, just kind of go like, you know, like max volume, then that's what that'll be. That's my air purifier. Flux, obviously Amtech. This is Amtech Flux. Needle nose pliers, this is very important. This is what you'll need to clamp onto the actual stick to pull it apart or wiggle it out when you're actually using. Oh yeah, that's another thing, is I'll be actually doing 2 methods for this. So in my original stick drift video, which is the PS4 ideal way to fix stick drift, I only use low melt solder. Now I would still recommend using low melt solder because for like 1,000,000% for all the people that are actually doing this for their first time, or maybe they're like a noob or beginner, or they don't want to just spend a lot of time at doing this and just want to replace new sticks and just get rid of the stick drift completely, use low melt solder. 1,000,000%. This is the best type of thing for this type of procedure, because low melt solder is good for multiple types of joints and or targeting multiple types of joints at once. I believe it melts at, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe like 75 degrees. I'm not sure. I think it's around 75 to 100, around there. And it stays melted for quite a long time, probably around probably like 20 to 30 seconds, maybe 15 to 20. And that's much needed time to just pull it out by then, when you have all the low melt solder balls kind of around the actual joints or the solder points. So let's get started. Now this is obviously different than the PS4 DualShock 4. Now I will be using Kapton tape as I always do. So you can use the solder clamps or soldering helping hands, which is very good. Like, I feel like it's better, but I just always use Kapton tape. Like, that's just what I always used to do. Alright, so let's get into the procedure. I have my mouse pad right here, so I'm gonna have to... yeah, that'll work. Might be a little bit bad if I were to melt this and cause a fire, but... I feel like that'll work. Let's see. I mean, I can make do with this. Yeah, I have ample enough space here. That is kind of a mess because I have my microphone set up here, but I can make do. Let's see. I might need to put this behind this. Yeah, that would be perfect. Alright, so first things first. Kapton tape. As the last video, I usually use 3 to 4 layers. Sometimes 4 layers, but this board is very big, so you can kind of go around with maybe 3 layers, and you have much more, like, I would say, since it's more bigger around the top, I would say this is more vertical rather than horizontal like the DualShock 4 controller is, or the DualShock 4 PCB, sorry. But that's actually really good because you have a lot more space to put these Kapton tape, especially longer widths over against it. So 3 times. Now this may take a while, so I might speed up or I might just cut it. I'll probably just speed it up post-editing. Alright, now that we got the Kapton tape set up from the other view, let's check that from my other camera. Yep, kind of zoom in a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, okay. And then this camera, which is the main camera, I'll kind of adjust this. Alright. So you guys have kind of a good overhead view of what's going on, and you guys can't see it, I'll kind of zoom in, maybe post-editing even more, but this should be good. And you guys won't really need to worry about what I'm using, as I'll just explain it as I go and when I pick it up. So turn on my soldering iron. Now for the left stick, this is how I'm gonna do it. Is for the 2 methods, what I'm gonna basically do is the left stick, or oh yeah, and if you guys haven't watched my last video, this is one thing you should always use when you're soldering sticks or desoldering sticks, is from behind the PCB, when the sticks are facing down, use aiming, movement. I explained this in the last video, aiming and movement. This is basically how you identify which sticks are which, instead of having to imagine it the board face up, and then, you know, kind of just notice, remembering what is left stick and what is the right stick. So just use that. So for the aiming stick, which is this, which is right, but our left, so AIM, we're basically going to, what I'm going to use is the hot air station for this, and then for this I'll use low melt solder. So I'll just kind of explain how to use both of them. Now, as I said, low melt solder is the best one to use for noobs, but I'll also show how to use a hot air station as well. So let's begin. I think I'll do this one first, low melt solder, so you guys know what is kind of the best one to use. And then the hot air station, for people who have it, I mean, you wouldn't really be watching this video if you know how to use a hot air station, you know? So obviously we'll use low melt solder first on the right stick, and then the left stick we'll use a hot air station. Now, another thing you also could do is use both at once, which is actually better in a way, because you actually, I feel like it's faster, but you can get away with doing it with the soldering iron. Now, I know for like certain types of maybe GPUs, you kind of have to use both in a way, as well as HDMI ports, I believe, for consoles, but that's a whole different type of thing than this. Those are much different PCBs and connectors, so, because right now we're doing something much more easier than those are much more difficult. So first thing I'm gonna do is tint it, and then I turned on my fume extractor, so that's a bit loud on the, my microphone. I might just use the audio from my thingamajig phone, so you guys might notice a little bit different, or a difference in audio. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously flux first, and then we're going to put new solder on. Put all those joints. And then I feel like I can do a little bit more. Let's get on to adding fresh solder, which is this. This is the solder I used last time, the ideal way to fix stick drift video. This solder is actually the wrong size. Like, I used it in the last video, and you guys may have noticed, like, I was kind of messing up when adding the solder. I was adding too much solder, and that's because this is it was too big of a solder. I believe this is 1 millimeter, and the best one to use for these are 0.5 millimeter. I mean, 0.5 millimeter is the best one to use. This is kind of just, I honestly don't know why I bought this, but I mean, now I have a purpose for it. I could just use it for adding fresh solder, so we're gonna do that. Even though it is expensive, I would say, in my opinion, Weller solder might actually be better than Kester. I would say Weller is like really good. So, fresh solder. Now, it has been a minute since I last did this, so I may be a little bit rusty, but it's just knowledge at the end of the day. And you can forget hands-on experience, but I would say not to this extent. Kind of like a mini solder pot. And just kind of mixing that solder, the new solder with the old solder. And then I'm using a solder sucker, which you guys haven't known. Where is it? Right here. I forgot about my wick. I took out my wick as well. Now we're going to suck the new solder up, and that'll make it kind of a little bit more ready priming. Alright. Clean my tip a little bit. Now, as I said, or as you can see, it's going to be a little bit of a mess, so just be ready, because you will need to clean up after this. It does become a huge mess, as you can see from my desk. So just keep that in mind. These should be good to go, and now we're going to add the low melt solder. Now, if you guys also do notice, the Dualsense, its sticks are, I would say, reversed than the DualShock 4. Usually the DualShock 4 has the two potentiometers on here, on the top and left, but on this it has it on the bottom and right. So it's kind of a cool thing. I don't know what it's for, but who knows? I don't make controllers, Sony does. Now we got all that low melt solder put on joints, kind of spread it around. Probably gonna add a little bit more flux. And more flux is always better, unless you're resoldering something where you cannot risk flux going through the holes. Unless you're experienced that you can just do it very quickly, which, yeah, you can do it, but I typically don't like to risk those. And now we should be good. Go ahead and get your pliers ready, right here, and clamp it on the potentiometers, or on this. Since it's reversed, it's actually better since it's reversed, because you can actually get a better hold than you can on the DualShock 4, because the left, the click, and as you can hear, my air purifiers are in the background now because of all this heat or all this smoke. But yeah, basically clamp it right here on the bottom, like so where you're facing. You clamp it on the right potentiometer from you, and then you clamp it on the empty side on the left. So like this, and then you clamp it very hard. Make sure you do clamp it very hard so it doesn't slip out, because not only can that be dangerous, because if it does slip out of your hand, you risk low melt solder going on like your face or something, because that's dangerous. You do not want that. And it's also just kind of mess up the potentiometer. Well, you're not really risking it, but risking messing up the potentiometer since you're replacing it. But yeah, basically clamp it, and once you hear these squeaking sounds where you can hear it, you guys hear that? When you hear those squeaking sounds and you're kind of wiggling it, that's how you know it's already kind of open and you're kind of ready to go. Now just make sure everything is make sure all the solder joints are just kind of already melted with the regular solder. So now I'm kind of overdoing it, but I'm just trying to explain it as well in depth. So now, as you can see, this is the power of low melt solder. You can wait this long, and then you can still pull it out. That easy. And I also did just get, ouch, some low melt solder just got on my foot. Thank God it's low melt solder, not regular solder. That could have been bad. Why me? Why is it always me? Alright, anyway, back to the actual soldering. There you go. There's your Alps Alpine stick right there. So I don't want to kind of keep this because it'll kind of make a mess, so I just usually just throw it out. You can keep it for parts, which I would say you can do. I would say you should do that, but for me, I just kind of throw it out. Remember, you should always be cleaning your tip almost, I mean, once you just feel like it's not at its kind of, when you feel like it's not giving you the right temperature, or just not melting fast enough, then you should start cleaning your tip. You should kind of just clean your tip regularly, like almost every 2 joints you press. Just good practice, and it's something you should always do. So now we're going to clean this low melt solder flux up. Low melt solder up. Low melt solder residue. There we go. As I said, I'll clean it up after. I'll just show you guys the other method with this, which is the hot air station. So let's go ahead and do that. Before I actually do start the hot air station, one thing you guys also need to know is, I remember in my last video, someone gave me a comment, what temperature do you use on your hot air station? Now, this is actually something you guys should really like remember, is more heat, less time, not less heat, more time. And that goes with probably everything. Now, that kind of goes with hot air as well. Maybe a little, maybe not some things, but for soldering, I would say 100%. But one thing you guys should also realize is, for hot air stations, nozzles are also very important, especially with this, because when you guys are, if you use a hot air station and you guys don't have a nozzle, especially the right nozzle, which is, this is what I tend to use, you guys can actually burn the plastic underneath, and you guys don't want that. It kind of just, it'll stick to the PCB, and you guys will actually have to pry it open. So make sure you guys use this, a certain nozzle that can kind of pinpoint the airflow onto the solder joints or solder pins directly and not in the middle. Make sure it's kind of going around, and obviously you're going to need the right technique going in and out around the area, how far you are from it. So I'll kind of just show you guys how to do that. So we could probably just cut to that once I get all this stuff set up. Alright, so I got a little bit more zoomed in to the area that I needed. I got my hot air station ready. I did end up changing my soldering iron tip because I wanted to use a cone tip for fun. Just wanted to mix it up. So what I'm going to do first is add new solder, obviously, or flux, add new solder, and then I'm going to start using a hot air station. Now, what you want to do before you actually begin everything is kind of preheat the board. Now, I have Kapton tape over this, so it'll be a little bit more harder and it'll take more time. You can still kind of do it, but this is where the helping hands would be more advantageous over using the Kapton tape method, because you actually get more surface area for the heat dissipation, airflow, and where it goes, especially when you're preheating the board with hot air. But you can still do it with the hot air station. You just have to keep it at like 200 degrees. And yeah, as I was explaining, more heat, less time, not less heat, more time. Now for hot air, that kind of does matter a little bit with how you preheat the board. Preheating, it only matters when you're preheating the board. Now this, you won't really need to preheat that much. It's kind of just a small board and doesn't have that many thick layers, but it's still best to do it for like a few minutes, like probably like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2-3 minutes. For like bigger boards, like a PS4 board, or like, you know, motherboards that have lots of layers and are thick layers, you want to be, I don't even know if you could preheat it with a hot air station, but especially with the hot air station, obviously I always do max temperature. Airflow does matter a little bit, how you're actually, how much you use. Yeah, I just want to kind of get that through with you guys. Just make sure you guys don't do a mistake. Now for these, you won't really make a mistake, but for other types of boards, like per se an Xbox 360 controller, use it. You want to be very careful, because you can actually mess up the solder pads or rip the solder pads, which is kind of bad, and that's why you use more heat over less time, because you can rip the solder pads, and you don't want to be like, you know, tugging at it or have more time on a certain solder pad like this, right? For the PS5 and PS4 controllers, I've never had really a ripped solder pad. These are very durable, which is what I like. So yeah, my soldering iron is warmed up, and we can add new solder. I'm gonna add new flux first. Obviously, flux always comes first. Hit all those joints.
I got your back, don't you worry about that now. It's been a good day, good night. It's gonna be a good day, good night.
And then we're gonna add fresh solder. And then what we'll do is we'll basically preheat the board for a bit, 2 minutes with probably around, I would say, 233 degrees. And then after that's done, we'll basically start the actual powder refill procedure. Now I will say one thing, this tip is actually bad. I don't know if it's maybe just the tip itself or something else, but this tip is bad. As you can see, it tends to stick like that. You'll see right there. It doesn't really melt quick. That's kind of a bad thing. And that's one thing that sucks of using cone tips over chisel tips or bevel tips, is you kind of get that like right there. I'm not really going to be using it. I'm just going to be using hot air. Alright. So that's done. I'm going to turn that off, and I might actually switch the tip. I might use a different one. I might use this one, or I'll use this one. I think this one's better. So basically, hotter, turn it on. We're going to use 250, I'll use 233. And then we're basically just going to preheat the board and just kind of, you know, make it kind of prime a little bit. Now you don't want it to be too hot, especially with the airflow. When you actually turn it down, I'm going to turn it down to like 4. And you just want to kind of go around it. I actually don't know why I have this on. Why do I have my thing on? Okay, I'm going to take it out. Oh, okay. Alright, now that that's done, I'm going to turn this on. Actually, turn it off. I'm going to actually change my tip and do a quick cut. Alright, now I got my different tip on. Now I'm going to turn this on and just kind of leave it, you know, stationary when I need it. Now for this, 5, I'm going to go with 5 airflow, and then I'm going to use 350 temperature. I'm gonna do 350. Let's do 365 actually. 365 might be good. Yep. Now I'm gonna check this. Let me actually put this. This is warming up. Turn this off real quick, and then I'm gonna actually add new solder. I feel like a little bit of those joints are kind of not good. Now basically, how you want to do it is you kind of want to just circle around the area where the joints are, like this. and just kind of go in and out around the area. Let me get the wire. Okay. Now I gotta be kind of a little bit more thing. So if the camera does pick up, or it kind of blocks the camera, like this part blocks the camera, I do apologize, but I'm trying to avoid this and not burning that. So you just kind of want to go around it like this, and it'll eventually melt. And once you actually see, and the one way you actually see it melts is, you know, the solder actually turns liquid, and you can see that when it's very shiny. That's how you actually notice it's melting. Let me actually turn my airflow down a little bit. It's too much. You always want your pliers ready, because you want to be quick with this. It's much harder than low melt solder. Still not ready. Let's drop it down to 355 actually. 330. Let's do 330. There we go. No plastic sticking underneath. Let's check under the seat from the side. Yep. All good. Now this is very hot. You want to be careful. I'm just going to put this right here. And you don't want to put that on wood, or you don't want to throw it in the trash, because that is still very hot. This is also very, you know, this board is pretty hot too. I'm actually doing this on wood. You really shouldn't do this, but I'm playing it risky, so. No, I'll be honest, that was a very bad solder job. I mean, 1,000,000% that was so bad. I was actually panicking a little bit. This solder ball, it was very big. I feel like I did it wrong, or I did it bad with this. That was very, very bad. Any expert would definitely cringe at that, and I actually cringed at myself for doing that. But yeah, I definitely did not do a good solder job there, but I mean, it worked. So definitely wasn't perfect, not one bit, not even close to average. That was awful, but it's whatever. I'm pretty rusty, but I still feel like that's no excuse, you know. So now I'm gonna use my WICK and clean up some of this solder, and then I'll clean out the hole with the solder sucker. Alright, so I got everything cleaned up both of the sides for both the sticks. And there is one thing I did notice while I was cleaning, specifically this, the AIM, the M, or the movement, is if you guys actually notice right here, if you guys see this right there, that is what a bad solder pad looks like. Or not a bad solder pad, but just a little bit of it. And I actually did mess up, and it was probably because I was talking too much when I was using the low melt solder, which was 1,000,000% my fault, and I was just, you know, kind of going over it for way too long, like rambling, you know, literally, as they call it, yapping. But as you can see, a little bit of it is kind of ripped off, and a little bit went here, and then I seen a little bit underneath. I cleaned the ones on, I cleaned some of it up underneath, but this is a prime example of what you don't want to do. Is if you see one of these solder pads broken, you're kind of in a bad spot, because then you'll need to kind of scrape away some of the what is it called, I forget what it's called, like the surface of the board, and then you'll have to rewire it, or use enamel wire to connect it to the trace, where you'll also need to scrape off that part, and then you'll need to connect it to the actual trace on where it goes with an enamel wire. And you don't want to do that because it becomes a huge, like, it takes much longer to do. Now, maybe not as long as, like, per se, like an HDMI port, like bad rip pads on an HDMI port, that takes forever. But this, you can still do it, but as you can see, some of it is still there. So it will be fine as long as some of it is still there. If it's completely gone, then you're kind of screwed. But that just goes to show you, be careful when you, or make sure you have, when you're going with the soldering iron, make sure you're doing less time, because I was doing more time while I was talking and I wasn't really keeping track. So that's why I always say more heat, less time, and not less heat, more time, because when you do more time, you risk the pads actually scraping away while you're soldering, and while you're using flux and whatnot, and the WICK, or solder sucker. Maybe not the solder sucker, but maybe the WICK. You do risk actually scraping away some of the pad off. So just be wary of that and take in what I said to heart. But anyway, we're gonna put the sticks back in, which are these sticks, the Favor Union sticks, FRJ 10. I believe these are, no, technically 10Ks or 10K ohms. So these are FRJ 2.3Ks technically. So we're gonna use the FRJ 2.3Ks, which are the Favor Union sticks. And I got a little bit of flux on my solder sucker. I'll get a tissue. Let me do a quick cut. Alright, I'm back. So basically we're going to be putting these on. I'll just do this one first and then probably the other one. Or actually, I'll do it like I did in the last video. I'll put one of these on, and then the other one I could just fast forward and just do like a time lapse. So yeah, obviously, since I said the stick on the Dualsense controller, or the PCB, is reversed, so instead of it being top left, it's bottom right. So basically angle it like this, right? Bottom right. And then just push it in. If it doesn't fit, make sure to check all the legs are properly forward or straight. And yeah, that's good. Check. Yeah, every single one is in. Alright. So what you're gonna do is get proper solder wire, the length, make sure it's 0.5 millimeters. You can use this, but it'll just kind of be, you'll kind of have to, you may need to do, like, it'll be kind of test and then, or do it as you go. You'll maybe need to kind of use a little bit, and then if it's too much, you'll just have to use WICK and then do it again, you know, trial and error. That's basically what using this would be. So just use, I would say use 0.5 millimeter when you're putting these back on. If I can even find the wire. There we go. And then I'm going to put on my soldering iron, warm that up, and we're going to basically put on flux. Now, one thing you also need to be careful about is not to put too much flux. You don't want the flux to go inside into the potentiometers or inside of the stick, especially through these holes when you're actually using the soldering iron. You want to be careful. So just use the bare minimum, not a lot, but just enough. And then what you can do also is, if it's not perfect, but you feel like all the holes are closed off or the joints are properly closed off with solder, you can go ahead and rework it using a lot of flux, so you can adjust it to your liking. There we go. Now what I tend to do is you basically put pressure over the stick like this. You may get flux on your thumb. Don't worry about that. You can use gloves, but just wash your hand after. You basically use your soldering iron. You put solder on, or you put solder on your soldering iron, and then you just go over each point individually from each side. And then once, basically you do it from like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So every single point is kind of properly seated, so you can take your hand off of it and then just, use the solder and just go over it. So just basically put your thumb over it and then put solder on your soldering iron and then just go over each 4 point from here. So that's my soldering iron good. Yep. I'm going to turn on my fume extractor and then put a little bit of solder on your soldering tip. Just a little bit, and then kind of go over it. This is the first point. There we go. It's good. And then the next one. It's good. Now you can burn your hand. I mean, you won't burn your hand, but it will be kind of hot, so just kind of do it quick. And the next one is this. That's good. And that's good. So now you can basically take your hand off of it, off of the joystick from underneath. It's best to have a paper towel to just wipe your thing. Whatever, I'll wash my hands later, but basically just wipe your hands and then go through each point with the solder. Get more solder for my roll. There we go. So, like this. And there you go. Like that. Now, I'm really not impressed with my soldering skills right now. Like, I am doing... Man, I suck. That's what happens when you don't solder in a good minute. You gotta warm up before you do it. But it's done. All the points, all the joints look good. Let me double check. Yeah, all the joints look good. It's a good joint, and then I'm basically gonna clean this up, but I'll just clean it up after once I'm done with this one. But I'm gonna fast forward, and as always, you guys can watch. Alright, got the new sticks placed in, the Polyshine FRJ 2.3k ohms. Cleaned everything from the back as always. Definitely not my best soldering job. I know for a fact a lot of you guys were cringing while watching this, or any experts watching were definitely cringing. I definitely cringed a lot, but you know, it works. Everything seems to be placed in. You know, all the joints are properly seated inside. No bad points of solder anywhere. All the solder points or solder joints seems to be looking like mountaintops, which is what you want it to look like. And now we're gonna do the reassembly, but before I do that, obviously you gotta assemble some of the extreme rate stuff, like the buttons and the shell. So I'll do that, and then you guys will see the reassembly process. So I'll see you guys then. Alright, first things first, we're gonna connect the film chassis back into the front shell like this. Then we're going to put the screws back in holding the chassis. Now always remember for the speaker chip that the two pins protruding should always be on the right side of the film chassis. And just to make sure, these two pins from here should be connecting to the two pins protruding. Now I have stated before that I am using the clicky trigger mods, so be sure that you guys do connect these two ports over here and here. First thing we'll do is connect the touchpad ribbon cable, then the mute button, As I stated before, it's best to take a picture before you guys desolder these points on the board, but I'll probably put a schematic or photo up for you guys anyway, so you guys can just watch as you go. So yeah. Next up, we've got the battery chassis, then the screw, and then this part right here, which I actually don't know what this is. It might be part of the microphone or the headphone jack, but leave a comment down below because I actually don't know what this does, but it has a connector, so connect it back to the PCB and you should be set. Finally, we got the battery. And now you should be set. Put the back shell back on. Now after that's all done, put in the 4 screws. Next, pop in the L1 and R1 buttons. Okay, so as you guys can see, the custom shell doesn't have the front frame that connects into the front shell like the original PS5 controller shell, but instead it has these small little clips that connect into the corner. But for you guys, basically what you guys will do is the front frame and the front shell, it'll basically click in as so. What you do is take the top part where the sticks are, push it into these little slots. You'll see little slots around the touchpad up here. Slide it in, and then it should just click in place. Now, obviously the back shell isn't connected, but you guys will be able to push back the little L angle over here and just push it back a little bit, and then you guys can just push it in. But obviously the back shell isn't connected, so it'll just click in place. And there you go. Should just be like that. Now make sure you guys put pressure on each individual area of the front frame, because there are small clips that connect into these small slots up in here. So basically like that. The other side. And there you go. And that's how it will be for the front shell for you guys. And there we go. We basically completed every single step of the reassembly and the desoldering of sticks. And honestly, like, this shell feels nice, the buttons feel nice, and it doesn't feel like the PS4 controller, which actually I have over here, which I've actually just saved this because I don't really use this, and I kind of want to just keep it as like a reminder of that video I made. And I did actually install the USB-C, as you guys seen that the mod that I talked about from Marius Hire, the USB-C mod on the DualShock 4. But yeah, this is kind of dusty. I will have to clean this up. But, you know, it's just kind of like a cool thing, and you guys can actually see the difference. Like, this is a lot more like mouse kind of thing. This is kind of more... I would say this isn't really mouse. This is kind of more mouse clicky, if anything, but we got 0 in the back. Now this one, this is red, and this is purple. So what other character that fits with the color scheme purple be? Yeah, I think you guys knew this was coming. But I mean, like, what can I say, you know? It fits with the color purple, you know? Like... Alright, yeah, but anyway, obviously, still gotta apply the swappable hot sticks that Extreme Ray has, which I haven't used yet, but let's put them on. And no, I promise I'm not sponsored. This this is the only company that I've seen that actually makes these and like, you know, sells these. So I mean, if Battle Beaver or Scuff wants to actually make certain things like this, like, go right ahead. I'd definitely try it, but like, what other company does this, you know? It's like, I think this is the only company, which is Extreme Rate, that actually does this, and it's fucking hot as hell. What the fuck? And whoa, wait, this actually feels pretty nice. What the heck? This is actually not bad. This feels pretty OEM. Like, it has a different color, but obviously it's a different manufacturer. You know, it's manufactured differently, but it definitely feels OEM. It feels like the DualSense Edge's dumped sticks, which is pretty crazy. I would say it feels more like the PS2 stick, if anything. Like, but obviously it's a little smaller, because the PS2 stick and the PS3 stick, they were like humongous dome sticks. What the fuck? Yeah, it was just an FPC connector. Anyway, the sticks on this actually feel pretty nice. Like, they're OEM, or close to OEM, very similar, but the only thing that no, actually they don't have it. I was actually testing it a little bit earlier from the PCB itself, and they were tending to like spin a little bit, or wriggle, I don't even know if that's a word, but you guys know what I mean. It's like kind of slightly moving, but it doesn't do it anymore, so I don't know if it's maybe these that hold it together, the rings, but you know, it works. Like, everything feels good, and the mechanical buttons, as I said before, it's like even better than the DualShock 4 one, so they definitely improved on that. But obviously, with every stick that you put into a PCB, which I've explained in my previous video, you'll need to calibrate it. Now, before we get to the calibration, I just want to let you guys know that this calibration that I'm about to show you guys is extraordinary, because you can do this in under 2 minutes, or maybe 3 minutes, but you don't need to set up Python, you don't need to set up all these crazy things and command and, you know, coding, you know, like all that type of stuff. You can do this straight from your web browser, and I'm so glad that the people, I believe Carpikes and Elaine, made this so user-friendly, because everyone can do this, and it is so simple, or so simplified, to the point where you can do this with your eyes closed. A 10-year-old can do this. So let's get right into it, because you can do this with the DualShock 4 and DualSense. So after this video, you guys will see, or you guys are seeing right now, I'll put another video using that with the DualShock 4, so you guys can do it on both the DualSense and the DualShock 4. So let's get into it. Alrighty then, so onto the calibration part, which, as I've explained, this part, or the DualSense version, or actually not even DualSense, but as I said before, this works on the DualShock 4 and the DualSense. The updated version of the calibration tuning is a lot more easier than it is on the than it was back then, which back then basically what you used to do is let's go right here. You basically used to go to right here, DS4 Tools Master, and then you used to be able to do it from Python, which you'd have to, you know, install Python, and then you'd also need to install Zadig, which it could be kind of like tedious to do, right? Because obviously you'll just have to keep installing, and then obviously Zadig can be just completely dumb sometimes. Like, you'll have to wait a long time, and then, you know, task manager, and that takes a lot of time. But obviously now, as I've stated, you are now able to do it from your web browser, which is amazing, because now that you can do it from your web browser, you don't need to change your drivers on the actual PCB or from the controller itself. Instead, now you just go to this website and connect your DualShock or your DualSense, which it'll say it right here, DualSense wireless controller. Press connect, and then you'll see all of your firmware and stuff like that, and your hardware, what build the PCB is, like, is it BDM 001 or JDM 001 or 030, you know, etc., and you can see other stuff here. The only thing that really matters is the board model, like from here, all this stuff. Yeah, you can kind of, you know, these are like, I think these are drivers or updates. Like, I know Windows uses these 0x. I don't know what they mean, I forgot, but yeah, another important thing to keep in mind is right here is your battery percentage. Now, I actually didn't know this, but you should actually, when you are doing the calibration tuning, it's best to have it fully charged or above 75%, which I didn't know, but when you have a low battery percentage on your actual controller, for whatever reason, it can actually affect how the calibration works, I believe, or it can do some very weird things if it's not above 70 or like 80%. So just keep that in mind. Try and keep your controller charged, or charge it before you actually do this calibration. Now, it wouldn't matter like a lot, but it's also another thing, you know, because if your controller turns off during this whole process, you risk bricking your controller, like the firmware and whatnot. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, right here, you guys can see calibration, or what's not calibrated yet. It's this one, the left stick is going top right, and then the right stick is going top left. And obviously you can check the circularity of it, because, you know, it's not calibrated yet, so it's very bad circularity and it's literally just drifting. But basically what you do is you can, so basically for the debug buttons, you guys just leave this alone. You don't really need to touch this stuff. It's mainly these three, mainly these two right here. Stick range temporary is kind of, you know, I feel like this just kind of useless because it's just a temporary thing to apply it onto the controller. So you should obviously use permanent, which is just, it does it automatically, and you don't need to do your open the controller like from PowerShell and then close it up or apply it to the actual PCB. It does it automatically. So first thing we're gonna do is calibrate the stick center, and it has this whole type of thing of all the steps, which is absolutely amazing because anyone can do this. Like back then with the Python and all that stuff, like I have what is it, let me see if I can find it, calibration.txt. This is what I usually use. Now obviously I've showed this in my previous video, and I left it linked in my previous video as well, but you have to go through all these types of settings, and you kind of have to just copy and paste it, and it's kind of a hassle, you know, because basically you have to type all this stuff in or just copy it and then do it over again if it's not a proper calibration routine. So it's actually way better doing it this way, and I'm glad they have all these steps because it makes it very user-friendly or noob-friendly, and you don't need to know Python or you know all these commands, PowerShell. It's much easier and more simple this way. So what you want to do is write changes permanently to the controller. Now I have noticed that this doesn't really do anything, because even if you don't check it, it kind of already does it. But I mean, I tend to just do it. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but because obviously it just applies it to the controller anyway. But I just like to, you know, just keep it on, write changes permanently in the controller. So step one, obviously, what it's going to do for all these steps individually, it'll tell you to put it to the top left, top right, bottom left, and then it'll just tell you to reset it to the center like this. So just let it go, and you'll go to the next step over. So we'll do that right now. Start top left corner, so let it go. Top right, let it go, and then bottom left, let it go. And bottom right, and let it go, and then you're completed. You're done. Does it automatically. And now you can check the circularity, but before you do check the circularity, do your stick range after it, because stick range is kind of like where it's going at its max threshold. So sometimes it can be finicky, so it's best to do this as well after you're done with your stick center, because, you know, obviously just because you do your stick center, it won't be completely a circle of where the area of the front shell connects, or these pieces that the PS5 uses. It'll need to like kind of go around it and actually, you know, calculate it to know where the max threshold actually is for these two sticks with the shell combined. So let's do that now. So basically what you do is you just do circles, you know, with your controller with both the sticks, and it'll basically, you can do it as long as you like. I just tend to do it like for 30 seconds, 20 seconds. And then once you're done with that, you can just click done. and then you're basically finished after that. You just unplug your controller. Now, I would unplug the controller and then replug it back in Gamepad Tester. It's right here. Let me just open this up in Gamepad Tester just to make sure that it is applied to the actual controller. So now that's done. There we go. Now we can check the circularity. And that's great. Right stick is 6. Left stick is 5 point. Probably will be 5.60. So that's pretty good, you know. I mean, obviously, as I said before in the previous video, circularity doesn't really affect in-game. It's just kind of, you know, statistics. Obviously, you'll start to see issues from the circularity once it starts to reach around like 10 or 9. That's when you'll start to see a few issues. But now that that's done, you could just uncheck this, and then we're going to, or what I'm going to do, and what you guys should do, is unplug the controller, replug it back into your PC, and see if all those things we just did is on the controller and is the same as we did it right before. And yep, there we go, right there. Now let's check Gamepad Tester. It's on player 2 for some reason. That's weird. Let me unplug and replug it back in. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. It's just weird. There we go. And yeah, there we go. Now we can test all the buttons, all the yep, all the buttons work. The mechanical triggers work too. Now we can test the oh yeah, that's right. No. I guess vibration doesn't work for this. I don't know if they have this program, but I guess vibration doesn't work for the Dualsense. That's weird. It says not available. They should probably update this, but yeah, there we go. All of this is complete, and you can just unplug your controller and then, you know, test it on your PS5, which obviously is what I'm going to do. Now for this part of the video, you guys will see actual in-game gameplay. Now there is a certain game that, you know, has a beta, so let's go ahead and test that, and maybe test a few other games with the sticks to make sure, obviously, that they feel good in game and not just from statistics. So I'll see you guys then.
Hardpoint.
Oh, what
We have
the
our
f-
orders.
Good effect on target.
lag, man.
See you never, asshole.
Hardpoint identified.
Engaging movement. Enemy is down.
Hostiles have the hardpoint. Hardpoint located.
Hostile shooter.
Oh, great TTK, baby. I love this game's TTK.
Hardpoint active. Hostiles have the hardpoint. Hardpoint is secure.
Don't make a habit out of this.
Hardpoint active. Hostiles have captured the hardpoint.
No, I ran out of ammo. No.
Deploying RCXP. Body drop. Scout pole, standing by.
Hardpoint is secure. Hostiles have captured the hardpoint.
Standing by.
Great lag. Like, what is this game, bro? It's so bad. I didn't mean to do whatever.
Now what we came for.
Not bad, not bad. Yo, my fucking arm hurts, bro. This is why I hate playing COD, man. Like, especially these newer COD. It's not even the fucking thing. It's just a PS5 controller, bro. This fucking Dualsense controller. Playing claw on this shit, like, hurts everything. Like, my whole forearm fucking hurts, dude. Play with Dualsense when you play claw, because your whole, like, it messes up your thing. You have higher chances of getting arthritis. Even with the PS4 controller, like, this is my actual controller that I use, which you guys actually never see this, but it's basically it's just a standard, it's a limited edition controller, the 500 million one, but I basically use this, which it also has USB-C. Right there. It's from various higher, but it doesn't really happen with Vigor, though. No, it's not, because like, Vigor's not really an intensive game. You don't need to be pressing like all these types of buttons, like sliding and jumping all over the place, you know? This game's maps are fucking awful. Like, I think the only good map is the train map.
Taking B.
Yeah, this is why this game sucks. Those were all headshots, and I still lose that, and this guy has a fucking AR, like... Yeah, alright, buddy.
Securing Alpha.
I don't know where they are, man. The audio, dude, there's no audio. It's so weird. It's like everyone has dead silence on. Not only that, but the sound staging is so off. I don't know, man. The game is just so weird. It really is, man. I'll be honest, like 100% for me, as a person that's played COD almost all my, I mean, I would say like probably since I was like what, 12. This is probably one of the worst gunplay in COD I've ever fucking played, genuinely. Like, I would touch Advanced Warfare, fucking, I would even play World War II over this. I never played Vanguard, but I heard that was bad, but the game is just so inconsistent, man. I don't know, man. This game's audio, dude. It just, it's like, it feels like you don't know who's who. Well, what the? What? Am I tripping? Where is this fucking radar? What is this radar doing? Like, what in the world, dude? That guy's crazy. Yo, what is that? Did he just... Oh. Did he collide us? Nah, no way. Fuck you. Yeah. Like, hello? What? This TTK, how is this a sub? How is that a sub, bro? How is that a sub? How, bro, what? Yeah, nah, let's go on a fucking different game.
God, I keep like I don't know. I'm too used to fucking vanilla too, man. Like some of the things I just can't wrap my brain around using the fucking bow and arrow. Okay. Oh crap! Oh, yeah, I knew it. Like, look at that. What was that, dude? I'm in the middle of a move and it's doing that. That's Sigma 2 right there. Some fireball, please. Oh, that was close. wall with that. There's iframes here now? What the fuck? Wow, that's a stun lock? That's karma for stun locking in there. That's crazy. Bro, what is with the, what happened?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just fuck.
What the fuck?
I guess when you are this good of a player, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm an insane player, but I'm a really good player. I know that. But Vigor's passed its time, many times. Like, I know when it used to average 1,000, 2,000 viewers.
Bro, that is facts, dude. Vigor is way gone. That is big
Like, bro,
facts.
You could laugh, like, you could laugh, but what happened to fucking, I don't know, people that succeed in the past? Obviously I'm not going to be as popular as like Jukesy and stuff that fucking blew up. He's clipping all this, watch, he's clipping all this! I'm your only viewer. I mean, facts, bro, I fell off, but I'll find a way to get back and average 50, 60 viewers, bro, 100%. You cannot say you're top 350 in a professional competitive game, and things like that, like PUBG. This guy just said hacky Sab. I mean, I don't really talk to Sab anymore, bro, I blocked him, so... Bro, don't fucking say that frog shit, bro, it ain't funny. It's not fucking funny, bro. The thing is, I'll be honest with you, bro. You want me to be honest? Don't tell them this, bro. You want me to be honest?
Oh yeah.
I pretty much, I did you by accident, but I literally blocked everyone in this game, I'll be honest. Because I know, the thing is, bro, I know you are a good guy, you know what I mean? You're a chill guy, you're a good player. You know what I mean?
Who, Rockets or me?
Bro, you really think I'm fucking talking about this crap like that? Come on, bro. This is how I know you're rent-free. You're still going in my chat, bro. You obviously loves me. Like, come on, bro. 2 years up with bunnies. Bitch up where the fuck what I want, bro.
Digital stalking.
He's a fucking gypsy, bro. I'm not even joking. I know the type, bro. He is a fucking... Grow up, bro. Even Betty said before, which Betty's actually a nice person. It's just like the type of person you are. You're the fucking... You're a fucking adult with a fucking 10-year-old's brain, bro. You even said you never went to school. This is what I mean. This shows your mentality, bro. You're talking about Vigor like it's a competitive game and now, bro. You know what I mean? This is kind of funny. And even King's...
Bro, it is a competitive game, bro. I play for X-Rip, man. I play for the professional team,
right,
bro.
It's just not the time to joke, right? Yeah, fucking competitive if you're a fucking wheelchair bandit. At the end of the day, I'm gonna IP ban you in my chat so you can't get in my chat.
Damn, bro's gonna get the Jamon treatment. Holy fuck.
You calling people packies and shit. So
yeah, he called me that shit, bro. That was like, honestly, I wasn't even offended. I was just laughing because I'm not even Pakistan. It's funny.
And then he calls people the fucking N-word. Well, do you want me to say what he says as well?
No, I've heard it, bro. No, it's the funny thing is I know like that. Like when I talk with him and I like talk shit, that's how I know I got in his head. Is when he starts being racist, bro. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, he's starting to be racist, man.
That's the crazy thing. But I can go with this all that, you know what I'm saying? But I still have a lot of garlic minch. This guy's saying garlic minch. Like, what the fuck is that? It's so unnecessary, bro. Oh, don't fucking say that bullshit, bro. I ain't playing with you. Don't fucking say that. That's not funny, bro. Now, I hate frogs, bro. Oh,
do you want to talk about it? Do you want me to be your therapist?
Alright, shut the fuck up. Alright, I have a question for you. If you could generally, right now, delete this game, completely wipe it so nobody could play it, would you do it, like, right now?
Yeah, 100%. Fuck that, 100%. Yeah, I would. Like,
but I paid money.
Delete the server, yeah.
Money. I would pay money to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like Rocket said once.
What?
He said he earns about 1.2 grand a day, like $1,200 a day, or something like that. You're telling me this guy's making about like 400 grand a year. You know, if you were doing that, you wouldn't be playing Vigor, bro. Bro, it wasn't me! Oh my god, some guy's going off about me. Bro, it wasn't me! This guy's accusing me of saying something now. Bro, it wasn't me, I promised you. This guy's accusing me now of saying it. Bro, it wasn't me. I'm sorry I accidentally said it.
What? Puck?
This guy's a troll. This guy's a troll in my chat. Yeah, but I'm saying that he said it. This guy, bro. This is a troll. This is a new account. Bro, it wasn't me. I'm just being cool. Bro, I can literally send you the clips of him saying it. I've literally got clips if you want me to send it to you. I don't want to talk to you. You are irrelevant to me. I've completely forgot you existed, bro. I'll be honest with you. I'm getting off this shit. Can't believe I came off on it. I'm never coming on it again.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
Bro, you're literally, the one thing is, bro, you are so rent-free. That is the crazy thing. You are so, stop fucking saying that frog shit, bro. You are so rent-free. I've never known a person to be so fucking rent-free in his head. Like, I know I was naive at the time. It does good, but nah. But bro, you saying calling like people like packies and shit like that, bro? That's just disrespectful, man.
GG,
What they do to you, bro? What do you mean, bro? I've got my own business that I own with my family. Stuff like that. I own Amazon FBA business, making money. And what are you amounting to in life, bro? Tell me, what are you amounting to in life? I want to know. You got anything else to say, bro? You imbecile? An imbecile.
Something I want to tell you guys before we do the calibration is that this method of calibration that we're going to do is super easy and you can do it in your web browser. Instead of installing Java, did I just say fucking Java?